We have with us here today the High Commissioner of Fiji to India, Yogesh Pujan, talking about his country, ties with India, and more. Thank you, High Commissioner, for joining us today. Just want to start with your personal opinion. Anyway, what are the priority areas for you in India, given the distance between India and Fiji? And what is the current state? How would you describe the current state of bilateral ties?
If I was to rate between 10 being extremely good and 1 being starting, we are probably around 3 or 4 in the sense that we have a long way to go and the opportunities are immense. The interesting part is that India is both growing as well as grown in the sense that you've got certain regions that are really developed, certain regions that are still developing. And for us as a third world country, we still have a lot of room to grow. So learning from what you are doing here is a boon to us.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has reached out to the Indian diaspora in a large way. So how are Fijians of Indian origin reacting to this?
Number one, we congratulate the Prime Minister Modi for his reappointment and we are extremely happy with the fact that we are now continuing from his first appointment, and you may have seen the pictures above us that your Prime Minister has actually been to Fiji. And having been to Fiji and understood what we are about and what the country is about, makes a lot of difference. And we really appreciate the initiative that he has taken, your Prime Minister has taken, in getting the Pacific together. So there's an organization and a meeting we meet up on, it's called FIPIC. And this will happen this year in Papua New Guinea, and hopefully around November. So the engagement with our diaspora is very big. I mean, I'm Hindi baat karte hain. So we speak in Hindi, our culture, our food, our religious practices. So although we are all Fijians, but the core of us is still very closely linked with Indian culture. So I always, people ask me, are you a Fijian or an Indian? I always say I'm a Fijian with Indian background. So reality being that our practices are something that is personal to us. But as a country, the diaspora, yes, they can relate to India through Bollywood and through Hindi is an official language in Fiji. So our news, our broadcasts, all that is all in Hindi. So we kind of speak very easily. You may find that we speak with a slightly Bhojpuri type Hindi, but at the end of the day we understand everything is being put out. So one of the things that I have done actually is actually in fact produced a Hindi newsletter. So say after India, Fiji is the only other country in the world where Hindi is an official language. हमारी constitution भी Hindi language में है. So this is something that a lot of people don't know about. आपका इंडिया में भी Hindi official language नहीं है. It is one of the languages. It's not the official language. So हमारे में it is one of our languages, which is Hindi, English, and the Itoke, which is the indigenous language of our community.
And Fijians of Indian origin forming around 1/3 of the country's population of 900,000, around 900,000, and have actively contributed to politics, economy, and form an integral part of the Fijian society. Can you describe the role of the community in today's Fiji politically, economically, and in other areas?
See, the Fijian economy, the Indian community has a major role to play because our major income is through sugar, and a lot of the sugar industry is managed by the Indo-Fijians, we call them the Indian community, but also the business circles. We are also active in the government per se. Many of the ministers are of Indian origin. We don't. I can understand how India looks at us. Your focus is within the Indian community. We don't see it from where we're sitting. We see everybody as one because we speak the languages of each other. you'd be surprised, the indigenous community, many of them speak Hindi. You know, they understand Hindi more than they can speak. But you know, you'll find that if you go to places like Bar or Reki, they'll talk to you very fluently. And many of them are involved in you know, singing bhajans and you know, conversing with us all the time. So we have that very strong synergy amongst ourselves. So besides having control of you know, the army, which is controlled by the indigenous community, the military is controlled by them, key government positions are controlled by them. We don't see that as a you and me type of thing. We always see ourselves as together in trying to get moving Fiji together. So to us, that is the objective, because I can't be peddling mine, go from one side and not having the other person peddling on the other side. We will go in circles. So that being said, I have made some notes of other issues. Our Indian community from Fiji has actually also moved out of Fiji to Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, and have a very strong presence there in many jobs and in the businesses. So commerce has always been part of our livelihood. We also really many professionals. Many of the accountants, doctors, lawyers, all of them are people that are through the education system. So we have a very strong presence in the commerce as well as social scene.
Now, since we are talking, can you just list some major achievements of Fijians of Indian origin? Major achievements.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was asking my team to try and put something together for me, in the sense that I'm not sure if you're aware that the 2016 the Governor General of New Zealand was a gentleman by the name of Sir Anand Satyanam.
Yes.
Born in Fiji, brought up in Fiji, migrated to New Zealand. So he's of a Fijian origin. We have at the moment here in India a gentleman by the name of Bhuyan Patel. He has been part of the UN, and you know, he's been in the UN system for many years, and he's actually retired and living here in India. So you can see how closely we are linked with India at the same time. You know, we have at the moment, you probably have heard of Madam Nazat Shaheen, who's the vice chair of the UN Human Council, and I think your team at the moment is there to meet her right now. We have Satendra Nandan, Dr. Satendra Nandan, who has been a very strong advocate of the law of the sea. Yeah, of course, and he's also been involved with poetry. I think literature is important just as much as capturing our essence and you know, it reaches our soul. So like this, we have many. Semoti Tikaram, who has been a High Court judge. So in many ways,
go for Vijay
Singh. Vijay Singh. I mean, you know, is a Vijay, you know, great jacketer. So like that, we have got many achievements at the same time.
There are many Fijians, as you mentioned, there are many Fijians of Indian origin in the US too. Can you please tell us about the reasons for the migration there, the fields they are active in, and the major achievements there?
Obviously, you know, many people that have moved to, you know, are migrating around, you know, economic issues. You know, you want to get greener pastures and, you know, try new things. Many of them gone because of the new job opportunities that they've gotten within
the US.
In the US itself. That has been the major driver. Obviously, the US has had a policy whereby you can invite your parents to come across and your cousins and brothers to come across. So that's how the population has grown. But end of the day, even though they are in US, they're still connected to Fiji. You may be surprised to know that we get in excess of $600 million in the way of remittance from Fijians all over the world, not only just the US, but all over the world. So a lot of them have gone into professional businesses, you know, doctors, a lot of blue-collar jobs. And some of them are doing very basic manual work, in a sense. They do cleaning work, they could do shop owners. So, you know, from the average to a highly professional group are also present there. So it's a combination of both.
Now coming to India-Fiji bilateral trade, it is largely tilted in favor of India, and the statistics apparently don't project realistically the trade happening between India and Fiji, 45 countries like Australia, New Zealand, or how So how do you plan to balance this bilateral trade?
Okay, you're asking me how I'm going to do my work. It is really around the fact that yes, see, we are a population of 9 lakhs. That is probably one of your small suburbs in India. But our GDP is $5,500 per capita income. So it is not a bad income level because we are very dependent on services. We have a lot of tourism that is there. Now, that is the area where I would like to work on. It's like to draw more tourists to come to Fiji and spend more money. In the way of actual trade, we've just launched Fiji water into the Indian market. It was launched in November last year. Currently, we are still trying to go back to our bilateral trade agreement. We're trying to ratify this, but this will happen eventually. I'm sure there's a lot of willingness from the Indian side to pursue that. But I suspect it'll be part of a regional deal. So I'm waiting till November to see what this table. So right now we're in dialogue with NEA to come up with what issues we'd like to raise in this event. We are buying a lot of goods out of India. I mean, spices and all that. You may know that we are buying a lot of Indian products that you don't see over here in the way of figures, but it's coming via Australia, for the matter New Zealand, or for the matter Hong Kong. I know a lot of spices come out of Hong Kong or in Singapore because of the quality you send there. And only recently that, last I think 20 years that your government has opened up the export licenses and all of that, where people are looking for new opportunities. But for us, at the moment, on our agenda of balancing the act, we are considering purely boutique items, because Fiji is a small producer. It produces niche items. So within the niche items, we're looking at cosmetics, we're looking at Fiji beer, possibly some coconut vodka, which is a uniquely Fijian product. So we believe that we don't need the big market. For example, Fiji water at the moment is in the top 5 resorts in India. And it's water, Fiji water. Okay. I'll get a sample for you to show the members as well. But it is to me, if I get Fiji water and maybe another 5 products in the Indian market, I'll be more than happy. Because your market is big, 1.3 billion people. The market is big, so we just need a niche. We need a niche market. So that's what we are focused on at the moment. So I don't think it'd be easy to compare the trade balance at this moment because it will always be in favor of India. There's one thing that I learned, and I think it is important for people to understand, is that a bilateral trade agreement is never even. It all depends on the development of the country and the strength of the countries. You have 1.3 billion, we have 9 lakhs. How do you compare the two economies? It's not possible. So it's important to make a note of that. So quite often when we say bilateral, it means, the reciprocal, I give you, you give me. And this is something that I like, the officials to understand that it is not going to be the case in the case of Fiji especially, because we cannot compare, our development versus what Fiji's development is.
You have said that Fiji is a vulnerable nation in terms of climate change. And Prime Minister Narendra was also the president of the 23rd session of the Conference of Parties in Poland last year. Fiji is also now a part of the India-initiated International Solar Alliance. India is also among those leading the world in the fight against climate change. So how can you see Fiji's role in this, given that your country has become the hub of the Pacific?
Yeah, well, the last COP was in Bonn for us. This year it's in Poland, and next year it's going to be in Chile. Now, this subject of climate change is everybody's subject. It's a question for India at this moment with the droughts and extreme climate conditions. The Pacific was very fortunate with our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi as the chair of COP. It wasn't only for Fiji. We were the voice of the vulnerable nations, of the smaller Pacific Island nations, and the other nations around the Pacific, around the globe, where we are all being affected in a big way. There's a saying that if there is going to be a gas leak in a mine, the canaries come out first. because then they can sense the gases being released. So we're the canary in the cake, meaning that we are the ones most affected. And we are the country's least contributors towards this, emissions, the carbon footprint. I was just listening to some of the debates about at what levels can we control the temperatures to. The Pacific is, as vulnerable nations are saying 1.5% to the industrial levels, but some people are saying 2% is fine. Yes, for you countries, bigger countries, 2% is okay. If you lose one meter of your shoreline, it's not going to affect you or impact you, or you won't even probably notice it. But 1 meter in a Pacific shoreline is a massive impact. And 1 meter in a case of Kiribati, for that matter, will mean total isolation, total decimation of the entire country. So some of the challenges we are faced with, we can feel it today. The larger countries don't feel it, and I think today the world has gone into inward looking. We all, from the crisis from the US and everybody else, now the Brexit situation, you can think of the exit from EU and all of that. So people are looking at how can I survive, rather than how can we as a world survive. I think this climate change agenda is a world agenda, right? Our Prime Minister very aptly said in his final presentation, he said that we are all in the same canoe. If this canoe sinks, we all go down together. So the crisis that we are faced with, and for the same reason we signed the ISA, we're the first people in the charter to sign ISA. We believe that we need to find alternatives. We can't keep saying we have a problem, and not address it. And addressing it with renewables is one avenue, and we have given a commitment that Fiji will be totally carbon neutral by 2035. That's our commitment we've given in writing to COP. These are voluntary commitments that everybody is giving, and I think each country, like for example, you have your challenge with China and for the US to be a $5 trillion economy. How are we going to grow? Where will the energy come from? Because energy drives it. The growth will be driven by energy. So where will this energy come from? And again, I must congratulate your Prime Minister's vision. Because the ISA, International Solar Alliance, was born at the COP. And with France and India being the leaders, they're charged with the funding and the organizational elements. So having ISA based here in India is good for me, because I'm in constant contact with them. We are about to engage with them in a big way. We're looking at a Star Sea Center in Fiji, and because we need to get an average person on the ground to understand what solar is and how you can use solar, because we have free energy. Some of the statistics says a few percentage of the sun's energy harnessed can provide the entire world's energy requirement. It is that much potential, but yet we are too conveniently positioned. We don't know where this energy is coming from. We just know we're going to use energy. So I think the policy, the technical people, and the grassroots needs to match somewhere along the line.
Thank you, Hajjusana, for a very good time. Add anything?
I wanted to make one observation, and I thought it was important to those people watching this news probably don't know where Fiji is. Some of you probably know, but Fiji, we are next to Australia and New Zealand. We are 4 hours flight from Australia and about 3.5 hours from New Zealand. So we're in the Pacific Ocean. So we're in the southern hemisphere. Fiji.
So it is winter now there.
It's winter there. You have summer here, we winter there. We have the international dateline that crosses Fiji. That means the new day begins in Fiji.
Yes.
So most of the Bollywood movies are first released in Fiji and then moves around the world. It's some of the things. Now, also a lot of people of Indian origin, Indians with Indian passport, you don't get visas to get to Fiji. It's visa on arrival. So that's a very important point to highlight. Also, you may ask me, how long does it take to go to Fiji? Because these are questions that people ask me. It's a long flight. It's a 15-hour flight. You've got to fly from here to Singapore or Hong Kong, and then connect from there to Fiji, another 10 hours, 5 hours to Singapore. And then we are trying at the moment very hard to give you a 72-hour visa-free entry into Singapore as a transit. So a lot of people say, oh, it's expensive to fly to Fiji. I don't want to give you a rate because rates keep changing every time. So if you are flying to Fiji, it's like going to US for that matter. 14 hours flight and the cost and what is in Fiji type of thing. Now, I say it's not the cost, it's the value proposition. If I give you one more stop in the same fare and give you a 3-day shopping spree in Singapore and then you go to Fiji, that's value proposition. So you get 2 for 1. So this is the type of things we are trying to put together. So this is how we're going to drive the Indian, try and balance the scale a little bit. People take more Indians to Fiji for holiday purposes. Currently we get a lot of people coming for honeymoons. It's not a wedding destination per se, because a lot of wedding destinations, we have studied this subject well. A lot of Indians, they go out for foreign wedding destination, they want a single stop. They don't want two stops. So to go to Fiji, you have to have 2 stops before you get to Fiji. But I guess you can do Mandi in Singapore or Hong Kong and then come to Fiji and have another party at the wedding itself. So these are opportunities there. So there's a lot of things we can still do. And I believe that it's only a matter of time before we reach that. So we had an unfortunate situation with the code share with Jet Airways. But the good news is that we've just signed with Air India as a code share. Along with that, we'll be getting Singapore Airlines and Cathay Pacific coming as well. So the connectivity will always be there for you. Now, we have a lot of engagement with India in the sense that we have no India program. We bring a lot of youth to Fiji, to India, sorry. And this is a fantastic program by ICCR and the Indian government.
No India program.
No India program. Brilliant program, and I must congratulate you for pursuing that, because the younger generation worldwide, they have lost touch with India. My father still has a connection because although he was born in Fiji, but he's still a very strong connection. He'll keep coming. I have a connection. I have a religious connection. I come to Vrindavan, Mathura, all these places. But my kids, the 3rd and the 4th generation worldwide will lose this connection, and that's why this program is a very important program in place. And I believe that the strategy to reconnect with culture, fun, all of that, the youth level, very necessary. Your Indian government has been assisting Fiji in many ways in the way of, for information, Fiji has, a lot of people ask us, diaspora, how are we going to, what have you got to offer us, meaning India? We always joke, is that, maybe we can export some culture back to you. Just joking in the sense that we still have retained many of the cultural practices, which probably is eroding, in India in many ways. We've got about close to 1,000 Ramayan mangays. Imagine for 9 lakhs of people and having 1,000 Ramayan mangays, practicing Ramayana on a weekly basis. So that they retain the practices. Maybe it's concocted slightly. Our practices are different, like how things have happened in Indonesia and all of that. But at the end of the day, we are still connected. We're still connected. So the language-wise, music-wise, all of that. So right now there's an emphasis. You have a fantastic ambassador at the moment in Fiji in the name of Mrs. Padmaja, and prior to her was Vishwas Sirpa. The work they have put down on the ground is phenomenal. Because the people-to-people relationship, because the trade and economic issues will come. That is the next phase. But the people-to-people, the trust element, the knowing what you want, what I want, what's your need, what's my need. Once you understand that, so you bring a lot of cultural programs to us, because we have lost that touch. We have lost what's happening. So that's one of those things that is happening. Also, just as information for your listeners, is that the next World Hindi Conference is going to be in Fiji.
After the last one in Mauritius.
After the last one in Mauritius in August last year, 2021, the World Hindi Conference will actually be coming to Fiji. So we'd like to invite all of the listeners out there, come to us, enjoy the place, come and see what we are all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A good appreciate it. Excellent.